I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and own fucking guns. I love it. Property.
Woo! This is The Fight Guy. I'm Guy, your host. UFC 317, just a few days away. Looking forward to the press conference later today. When you see this video come out, I'm going to make another video breaking down the press conference, but this one is going to be my full card predictions, who I think is going to win every single fight. I'm doing things differently this week, and from now on, I'm thinking with my head. All right, I'm going to go with my gut, which is in my head, who I think is going to win every single fight without emotions involved. Not who I want to win. I'll let you know that as well, but I'm going to pick who I really believe is going to win every single one of these fights. We'll start with the prelims, or we'll work our way all the way up to the main event, and we have a lot to get into, so let's get this started. Very first fight on the card. Both guys making their UFC debut. Christopher Ewert coming in on short notice to take on Jackson McVey. Cedric Dumas was supposed to fight Jackson McVey, who's making his UFC debut. But Dumas, I believe, he's facing similar criminal charges as John Jones is, so it might be a while before we see him out of the ankle monitor and in the octagon. I'm going to go with Jackson McVey to win this fight. Haven't seen any tape on either of these guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I love the UFC. I haven't missed a card in years. But when it comes to the LFA, some of the PFL, I don't watch every single one of those fights, and sometimes I don't get to study the tape. Just based off of physical attributes, I'm going to go with the slimmer, taller fighter to win this matchup. I'm going to go with Jackson McVey, probably to get a finish here. It'll be an interesting fight considering neither of these guys are UFC level talent. As of right now, we'll see if I see anything impressive on Saturday, but I don't have high expectations. This is supposed to be the Super Bowl of fight cards. All right, it's International Fight Week. It's supposed to be a stacked card from top to bottom like UFC 300 was, but we're not getting that. We're getting two guys that are making their UFC debut, one of them stepping in on a 1 week notice. Interesting thing about McVey, I'll say before I move on, is he did fight just a couple weeks ago, which is pretty badass. He's coming 2 week turnaround. He should still be in shape for this fight, so I'm going to go with Jackson McVey to win this match. We'll move on to the next fight. Another guy making their UFC debut, Alvin Hines, taking on Diniz in the heavyweight bout. We'll start with Diniz. We'll start with what we know. He's he's more technical on his feet. He's got sound striking, good combinations, things you like to see with a heavyweight fighter in general. However, we did see with his last fight with Marcin Tybura, he was stopped via doctor stoppage. His grappling did not look good. Tybura just kind of held him down, finished him with ground and pound from the top position. Alvin Hines, he is a little bit of a wrestler himself. He doesn't have great technical boxing or striking, throws heavy punches whenever he swings, and he'll try to wrestle you down against the cage. So the longer this fight goes, I'm going to lean Alvin Hines, but I don't think this is going to make it out of the first round. With that being said, I'm going to go with Diniz to get a first-round knockout, hopefully. We'll move on to the last fight on the early prelims. Nico Price taking on Jacoby Smith. Nico Price, he's a yard dog. He's a beaten-up yard dog. He's a fun fighter. Everybody remembers the Robbie Lawler retirement, dirty boxing in the first round, finishing Nico Price. That's what I think of every time I see Nico's name. Is just he's Robbie Lawler's son, but he's still an old dog. I'm going to go with a younger prospect, Jacoby Smith. I believe he's finished 8 of his 10 wins, all via knockout. This would be his second fight in the UFC, third if you want to count his Dana White Contender Series appearance. I believe both of them are knockouts. Yeah, who did he just knock out? Preston Parsons. Not that impressive, but it doesn't have to be that impressive when you're fighting Nico Price. I think he'll probably finish Nico Price in the first or second round. He is a minus 3,000 favorite, the biggest favorite on this card, so if you're a betting person, probably wouldn't hurt you to put a little bit of money on the plus 1,000 underdog. I wouldn't do it. I'd sit this fight out. I'm going to go with Jacoby Smith to probably finish Nico Price, like I said, in the first or second round. Let's move on to some of the more decent fights. Still shit card considering it is supposed to be International Fight Week. I believe 318 may be more stacked than this if it weren't for the main and co-main event, but not going off in that tangent right now. I'll have another video after the press conference. I'm more excited for the press conference, really, than I am for this undercard. I'll say that. The main card is pretty good. Terrence McKinney, Vyacheslav Borshchev. A lot of people are going Terrence McKinney, who's a slight favorite in this fight. He's almost a minus 200, almost a 2-1 favorite. McKinney, a few years younger. Let's just look at his recent resume here. He gets knocked out a lot. He's very chinny, which I don't like. He's 3 in his last 5. All of his last 5 fights have not went the distance. None of them have even seen a third round. I'm not a big fan of Terrence McKinney. I don't think he's that good. I don't think he's got a great ground game, and his striking is pretty good. Like it's a lot of the combinations are there, the head movement's there, he moves his feet well, but he just doesn't have a chin. That's why his record looks like this. That's why he gets knocked out so many times. But he's a fun fighter to watch. So I do think he does belong somewhere on this card. Maybe exactly where he stands. Vyacheslav Borshchev, 8-5. Not a pretty looking record, but he's got decent striking. He's got a decent chin. I remember the clinic that Chase Hooper absolutely put on this guy. What was it? May 11th, 2024. Chase Hooper fucked him up everywhere. Looked better on his feet. Chase Hooper's ground game is just insane. I've been saying this for years. People will listen. Giving Borshchev his first loss via submission. However, I do think... what am I going to say here? I think I'm going to go with Borshchev. Out of spite. I know my gut's telling me to go with Borshchev here, so I'm going to go with my gut. I just don't... Terrence McKinney just does not have a good chin, and it just has been taking more and more damage. I know he's coming off of a knockout win, but before that he was coming off of a knockout loss to Robovics, who's actually pretty decent. I'm going to go with Borshchev here. I don't think either of these fighters are very good. I do think that Terrence McKinney's fighting style, I do think his skills are a little bit better than Borshchev's, maybe with the exception of the ground game, the grappling work. But Terrence McKinney's chin, you just cannot count on it. So for that reason alone, I'd never bet on Terrence McKinney. And I'm going to pick him to lose this fight probably via knockout. I do have a weird feeling this goes the distance. But I've just been talking so much shit about Terrence McKinney's chin. I might as well double down, put my money where my mouth is, and say that he's going to get knocked out this fight. We move on. Fan favorite Tracy Cortez for some reason taking on Viviane Araujo. Viviane Araujo, she kind of gets better as the fight goes on. No, she falls apart as the fight goes on. That's what I was going to say. I think she'll have a better start than Tracy Cortez. I think she'll start hot, but Tracy Cortez, 7 years younger, fighters with a 7+ year youth advantage win about 70% of the time, and I think that's definitely the case with women's fights. As you see with the odds, Tracy Cortez is a -260 favorite. I think she's going to try to strike with Araujo on her feet in the first round, probably eating the harder shots from Viviane, but I do see her taking Viviane down, controlling her, dealing some damage. Tracy Cortez actually gets busy whenever she is on top, on the ground. So I think she'll deal some ground and pound. I think she'll tire Viviane out, and I think she'll probably win a 29-28 decision. I'm going to go with Tracy Cortez this fight, the younger fighter, the much younger fighter. We move on. Hyder Amil taking on Jose Miguel Delgado. Amil, he's a bit of an aggressive striker, 11-0. He's fun to watch. He's like a fireworks on his feet. He is 8 years older than Jose Miguel Delgado, who I believe has a very similar fighting style as Hyder Amil. He does have a 3-inch reach advantage, so we're going to probably watch him keep his distance, stick the jab, land the better shots on the feet. He likes to stay on the outside, so if Hyder Amil can close the distance or maybe even take Delgado down, which is not easy by any means, I think he'll have some success. But I'm gonna go with the favorite here, the slight favorite, Jose Miguel Delgado, to get the decision win over Hyder Amil. I think this will actually be a really good fight to watch. So yeah, we'll see. I'm looking forward to this one. We'll move on. Jack Hermansson taking on Gregory RoboCop Rodrigues. I'm going RoboCop all day. RoboCop almost beat Cannonier, which I'm not taking anything away from RoboCop. Jared Cannonier is a motherfucker. He looked really good against Cannonier. Had him hurt in the first round. I think even had him hurt in the second round. And then halfway through the second round, the momentum started to change. I believe he did lose in the third round against Cannonier. Fourth round. Okay. Early in the fourth round. The momentum started to change in that fight halfway through the second round. It just looked like Gregory Rodrigues was not as motivated that he can get Cannonier out of there as easily as he thought. He started to gas a bit. So with that being said, this isn't a 5-round fight. This is a 3-round fight coming back against a tough son of a bitch like Cannonier. I know he's coming off of a knockout loss. I know it was just a few months ago, but I'm gonna go with Gregory Rodrigues. I think he's a little bit tougher. Absolutely, he's a lot tougher. Jack Hermansson, not an easy guy to finish. Roman Dolidze finished him in 22. Other than that, when's the last time Jack Hermansson's been finished? He's been knocked out by Jared Cannonier 6 years ago. So aside from the Dolidze knockout about 3 years ago, it's been 6. The guy gets knocked out once every 3 years. I think that cycle's going to break. I think RoboCop's going to finish him. I think RoboCop will get the knockout. I think he's pissed off. I think he's better on his feet. I think he's tougher. And his ground game, without question, is superior. I mean, the guy is insane at jiu-jitsu. I forgot what his accolades are, but I believe he might have been a world champion at some point. Let's fact check this. Gregory Rodrigues, jiu-jitsu accolades. Let's see. I like to fact check myself. He has an 8-time national BJJ champion, Smash Global. Okay. He's really good at jiu-jitsu. An 8-time Brazilian jiu-jitsu national champion. Okay, in Brazil, that's pretty much the same thing as being a world champion, national champion in Brazil. Give me Gregory Rodrigues via any way he wants. I think he's going to get the knockout, but if not, probably does enough to get the decision 29-28. Let's move on to the main card, finally. Finally on the main card. Man, there's so much stuff I wanted to say about this, but I got to wrap this up. We'll start with Peyton Talbott taking on Felipe Lima. First fight on the main card. How did Peyton Talbott get in the main card? I'm not sure. I am sure this guy is gay, though. Peyton Talbott is gay. I'm not trashing gay people. Nothing wrong with that, but he is gay. That is something you guys should know. There is a video going around on X. It is a few years old of Peyton Talbott hitting a vape, Assault Nicotine. I think it was Berry Bomb Pop Banana Blast. He was hitting the vape out of his ass. It's a real video. It's on X. I can't play it on here, obviously. YouTube doesn't like to let us have fun. But I saw a video today of Peyton Talbott hitting a vape out of his ass. This isn't new news. I'm a little bit behind. I understand that. But if you guys did not know this, some of my friends didn't know this. One of my friends who really likes Peyton Talbott did not know this. And I'm like, bro, you got to sell your stock now. He just got fraud checked in his last fight against Barcelos, who did just beat Cody Garbrandt, who actually looks really good. It's hard for me to say that that was a fraud check now with how good Raoni Barcelos is looking this late in his career. But I'm going to stick to my guns. Peyton Talbott, he's gay. He hits vapes out of his butthole. And he got fraud checked his last fight. I think he loses this fight too. I think Felipe Lima is the more dangerous fighter. He's well-rounded. He has really creative striking. He has great grappling. He throws a lot of kicks, spinning kicks. Peyton Talbott, a lot of the same things. He's very technically savvy. Muay Thai national champion. He's got good striking, but I mean, we saw with the Barcelos fight, he could easily be controlled. He's not great getting grappled against the cage. He doesn't have great takedown defense like I thought he did, and his striking just fell off when all the other aspects of his game didn't hold up. So I think it's going to be a very similar rerun to what we saw with Raoni Barcelos, just in a better fashion. I'm going to go with the favorite, Felipe Lima, to win this fight. Had I not seen the butt vape video from Peyton Talbott today, would I have picked him to win? Probably not, but it definitely did factor into my decision, and that's me going with my gut like I told you I would. We move on to the next fight, Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. I really like both of these fighters. I would go with Beneil Dariush if he was just a little bit more active. I am aware these guys were supposed to fight, what was it, at 311? Was it 311? When Moicano stepped in on 1 day's notice? Yeah, UFC 311. Got subbed out by Islam in the first round. Still, I love the balls on this guy. Not literally, but figuratively. That's the right word. Beneil Dariush, I really liked him at my first UFC event I've ever went to. My first fight night, UFC Austin, December 23. I saw Dariush get absolutely mauled by Arman Sarukian, and I've loved him ever since. Not that I like Arman, not that I like that he lost, but I just like Beneil Dariush. He's a well-rounded guy. You know, he's good everywhere. Really insane grappling. What was the match I wanted to bring up? The Jesus Gamrot fight. Oh my gosh. If you guys get the opportunity before Saturday, go back and watch the Jesus Gamrot Beneil Dariush fight. It's some of the best grappling scrambles you'll ever see in the UFC was in that fight. But with that being said, I'm going to go with Moicano. I'm going to go with Moicano to win this fight. He's got the aura. He's got the fan base, the star power, the momentum, the money. I do think these guys are very balanced when it comes to skills, but Moicano is just a little bit more active. He's been fighting the top guys in the contender more recently, more top guys in the division more recently, and most importantly, I want Moicano to win just for the post-fight press conference the post-fight interview that we're going to get from Joe Rogan. I'll show a couple clips here of some of my favorite moments from Moicano's post-fight interviews in the past, and if you're not sold after that, I don't know what to tell you.
I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and own fucking guns. I love it, property.
And also, another massive win. We gotta say, who do you want next?
Fuck Macron. Fuck all globalists. Fuck all these motherfucking globalists. They're trying to push a political and corrupt agenda.
Moicano, I'm going to pick him to win. Probably gets the finish on Beneil Dariush just because he's been so inactive recently, and Beneil is coming off of 2 back-to-back round 1 knockout losses. So there's a lot going through his head. He was talking a little bit on the UFC Embedded about just the nerves, and I get it. All fighters get nerves, but I really do think there's a lot on the line here for Beneil Dariush. I think the pressure is going to get to him. His chin hasn't held up in the past couple fights, so why should it hold up in this one? Give me Renato Moicano, money Moicano. I want to see that post-fight interview so badly, man. This guy just does better each and every time. Next fight, this is a fucking banger. Brandon Raw Dog Royval taking on Joshua Van. Joshua Van has quickly risen to be a fan favorite. I believe he's ranked 10 or ranked 11 now. I did a hiccup. I thought he was unranked in his last fight, and then he went from being ranked 14 to fighting a number 1 ranked contender. Let's talk about Joshua Van for a second. UFC 317 Saturday. He's coming off of a win at UFC 316, a knockout win against Bruno Silva, I believe. Is that his name? Is it Bruno Silva? Yeah. So many Silvas. It's hard to keep up with these Silvas. Why this is significant to me is before Joshua Van knocked him out, Manuel Cape knocked him out. But Joshua Van looked better than Manuel Cape, in my opinion. I thought Van did a better job against Bruno Silva than Manuel Cape did. If you guys can recall, there was like an eye poke. There was a groin kick that was not stopped by the referee. I think it was Jason Herzog. It should have been stopped. Not to take away from Cape, he was absolutely decimating Silva that fight, but I thought Joshua Van looked better. And Manuel Cape was supposed to fight Brandon Royval, but we get on a 2-week notice, 3-week notice, the same month, 2 pay-per-views in 1 month, which does not happen very often at all. International Fight Week is pretty much the only time we get that. I don't remember the last time this has been done, besides Figueiredo in COVID, which was a no contest, so he didn't even get the 2 wins on 2 pay-per-views in the same month. Not a month's time, in the same month, the month of June. Joshua Van has an opportunity to move from, what was he? I think he was ranked 14. He was ranked 14 before his last fight. Beats Bruno Silva, jumps up to 10 or 11. So he has an opportunity to beat 2 ranked guys in 2 different pay-per-views in the same month, going from 14 ranked to potentially number 1 ranked in the division. Brandon Royval is a number 1 ranked guy. He's really good. Royval's good everywhere. He always looks for the finish, whether it's off of his back when he's down 3 rounds, 4 rounds, or he's on his feet trying to knock you out, pressuring with the jab, throwing power punches. Joshua Van, I believe, is a better technical striker on his feet, but I can't say that his ground game is to match Royval's. I think, obviously, Van is 2-1 with submissions, but Brandon Royval, how many submissions does he have? He's 9-1 with submissions. He has a 2-1 chance to submit you than he does to knock you out, and I believe he's very dangerous on his feet, just as dangerous as Joshua Van. I think Joshua Van, he's more inclined to try to go the distance. I think the longer that this fight goes, especially standing, Joshua Van has a real chance of winning this fight and becoming a number 1 ranked contender. One of the fastest rises through the rankings I remember in recent history. Joshua Van, like I said, he's more technically sound on his feet. He's got great combinations. He'll mix it up very well, as I've broken down his fights twice already this year. Brandon Royval does a lot of the same things very well, except he also excels. He's just way better off of his back. So will he? I don't think we see Royval going for open space takedowns. I do think if he wants to get this on the ground, he's going to do it against the cage. I think he'll have some success with Joshua Van there. But these guys could just bang it out on their feet for 15 minutes. It's very possible we see that. With that being said, my official pick for this fight, I'm going to go with Brandon Royval. And I want Joshua Van to win this. I'm fans of both guys. I really like Joshua Van as of late. I went to 313, as I've said many times already on this channel. I went to 313 in March. I saw Joshua Van upset this undefeated Japanese prospect making his UFC debut. I really like Joshua Van. But I got to go with Brandon Royval. I got to go with my gut. A lot more UFC experience. He is the top contender in the division. He was preparing for Emmanuel Cape, who's a little bit more unorthodox than Joshua Van, and a very good striker. So it's really going to be a good fight. It's going to be a close fight. Like I said, the longer this goes, especially if it's on the feet, and if this goes to a decision, I think Joshua Van can pull this off. But I also do see Royval mixing it up well enough. He gets ground and pound. He takes Joshua Van down maybe in the second round for a little bit, definitely in the third round as well. He finds what works for him to win this fight, and he's going to play towards that. And I think he'll get some ground and pound in, but we could see Royval win a decision as well. I'm going to go with Brandon Royval to win this fight. Just give me money line, even odds. I thought he was plus money when I checked earlier this morning, but he's not now. So we'll move on to the co-main event. Alexandre Pantoja taking on Kai Kara France. What an amazing fight. I do think Kai Kara France is going to give Pantoja a serious problem on the feet, especially if he starts stuffing Pantoja's takedown attempts early on. I mean, Pantoja is a really good wrestler, a really good grappler. Like, that's why I would love to see the Merab fight, but we'll talk about that at a later day. Pantoja, if he struggles getting Kai Kara France down early, and Kai Kara France stuffs those takedown attempts early on and just doesn't make it any easier for Pantoja as the fight goes on, I think there's a serious chance Kai Kara France can knock Pantoja out. He's a very good boxer. He's got very good power and volume in his strikes. He always just keeps them coming. Mixes it up very well. Body, head, body, head, body, head, head, head. I think he's a lot better of a boxer, a lot better of a striker. That's no secret. But that's not going to shy Pantoja away. Pantoja is a son of a bitch. His name's a cannibal for a reason. He's going to march forward. He's going to keep throwing the jab. He's going to keep trying to find what strikes work best for him. And don't get me wrong, he is almost certainly going to mix in takedown attempts every time he gets Kai Kara France against the cage. I am going to pick Pantoja to win. He's my boy. I love Pantoja. That post-fight interview after he got his belt with Moreno was emotional. It was just a great night. I really enjoyed his run as champion. I do believe he could be the greatest of all time in this division, especially if he starches Kai Kara France here. And maybe potentially lining up for a super fight with Merab down the road. Man, very exciting fight. Like I said, I'm going to go with my guy, Pantoja, to win this. But Kai Kara France quite literally does have a puncher's chance to win this fight via knockout. So let's move on. The main event of the evening, Ilia Topuria taking on Charles do Bronx Oliveira. Debatably the biggest fan favorite fighter in the UFC right now. Everybody loves Charles Oliveira. There's every single town, every city in the world has Oliveira fans in it. With that being said, Ilia Topuria is quickly rising to fandom. A quick fan favorite in recent times. A lot of guys have been calling for Ilia to fight Islam, but I think we'll get that fight, just not as soon as everybody wants it. Ilia is very well-rounded, very dangerous, has the power to put out anybody's lights in two different divisions. Obviously, he's undefeated. He was almost knocked out the last time he was in the lightweight division against Jai Herbert, of all people. What makes him very impressive is he doesn't have like a set game plan. He'll mix it up. He'll try to strike with you no matter who you are, Max Holloway, Islam, Charles, Volkanovski. He will try to strike with you even if the other fighter seems like they may be a better or more technically sound striker. And his game plan will change as the fight goes on. Like we saw with the Jai Herbert fight, he got knocked down, instantly went for a takedown, and changed the momentum in that fight back in his favor. Now, with that being said, Charles Oliveira is a much bigger guy, much better lightweight than Jai Herbert too. My heart wants Oliveira to win this. I think everybody else is on the same page. Oliveira, I really want to win this fight. It would be absolutely amazing to see him get his belt back, to see him get another belt for his other child. He has a son and a daughter. He got his first belt for his daughter. Now he said in the UFC embedded video that this belt is for his newborn son, Dominic. I really want to see that. It'd be really wholesome. It'd be cool to see Ilia Topuria get a taste of his own medicine after finishing Max Holloway, after finishing a lot of guys, Volkanovski, guys that we really like, Bryce Mitchell even. But I am going to pick Ilia Topuria to win this fight. A minus 500 favorite, I really want to pick the Bronx. I really want to pick Charles Oliveira, just so I could be on the record when Charles Oliveira pulls off the upset. But I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to go with Ilia Topuria. Charles Oliveira, he's a fearless lion. He'll walk forward. You know, whether he's getting pieced up or not, he's going to keep coming forward. And there's not a better definition for a warrior than that. Charles Oliveira is quite literally a warrior's warrior. But I do think Ilia Topuria puts him to sleep. Ilia Topuria will probably knock Charles Oliveira out. We just saw him knock Max Holloway out, which is the most durable fighter, debatably, we've seen. Nobody really finishes Max Holloway. But for Ilia Topuria to do it in such a fashion, to mock him, to point to the center of the octagon right when the fight starts, I think we get an early finish here. I think he's going to hurt Oliveira. Now, Oliveira does present more danger than any other fighter Ilia Topuria has ever fought before. Charles Oliveira is dangerous everywhere. He's unorthodox. He'll go for crazy sweeps, crazy submission attempts out of nowhere. He's really good at taking the back from just about any position in the fight. The longer this fight goes, I think it looks better for Charles Oliveira. Now, I do think he's going to take a lot of damage early. Don't get me twisted. The first round is definitely going to be a 10-9, maybe even a 10-8 for Ilia Topuria. I think he's going to hurt Charles. He's going to knock him down, and he's probably going to cut him open. And we're going to be battling with a potential doctor's stoppage at some point this fight if Charles' chin holds up in the first and second rounds. But God, would I love to be wrong about this. I would really love nothing more than to be wrong about this, but I think Ilia Topuria is going to finish Charles Oliveira. And that's my predictions for International Fight Week. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you enjoy my predictions, I'm going to have another one out for the press conference, a quick video recapping the highlights of the press conference coming later today when you see this video. Go check that one out. But UFC International Fight Week does not look good at all until you get to the main card. The prelims look weaker than some of the fight night prelims that we've seen this year so far, and I'm not exaggerating. Fuck you if you think I am. This is the Fight Guy. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later today.